Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. What's a secondary dominant? Well, the baseball season is beginning. I thought we'd take a look at the classic Take Me Out to the Ball Game because it's a great example of secondary dominance in a song. Take Me Out to the Ball Game is an old song. And like many old kind of Tin Pan Alley or vaudeville songs, it's looking backwards to common practice harmonic traditions of the 19th century of Europe. Now, there it is right there. It'll be back in a second. Don't fret. So here's the thing. Every major scale has a bunch of fifths in it. But that fifth right there is kind of weird sounding, and in fact, unlike all the other fifths, it doesn't have 7 half steps. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 half steps gives you a very special interval, the tritone. Now, the tritone happens to live in that chord right there. That's the G7 chord, and it's the 5th step of the scale that G lives on in the key of C, and that tritone does something really important. It does this. Now, between my playing the scale, my playing the fifths, my playing the G7 chord, and then that tritone, your ear, your expectation is now conditioned to hear C as the center of our harmonic world. So if I play this, which is an A minor chord, it's in relation to that C. And if I play this, it really sounds like I'm pushing someplace new. And where I'm pushing is here. Well, what did I do? I used a new tritone, kind of out of the blue, and I let that tritone resolve to G. That's a classic secondary dominant. In the key of C, G7 is the dominant chord. It really wants to resolve to C. A secondary dominant is a different dominant chord, really from another key, that resolves to a different place. That was a series of dominant and chords with resolutions. So Take Me Out to the Ball Game begins on a C chord. And then it goes to the 5 chord G. Well, Albert von Tilzer has really established a very strong key center. I'm in C, no doubt about it. I'm in C. G7. Here's a rule that my teacher said: you can always go from a dominant chord to any major chord, and the major chord we go to is A, Buy Me Some Peanuts. Now, if I make that A7 there during Peanuts and Cracker Jack, A7 is a dominant chord, and A is the 5 of D. D minor. That was a secondary dominant, A7. It's not written on the chart, but A is the 5 of D to D minor, Cracker Jack. I went from A to D. Here's a D7. D is the 5 of G, right? I don't care if we ever get back. D7 is the 5 of G. It's a secondary dominant. We went to G, and of course G takes us back to C. Let me root. I love this moment. Here's C as a secondary dominant, C7. C is the 5 of what? It's the 5 of F, ha ha ha. For its 1, F sharp diminished. Oh, we need to talk about this. F sharp diminished. Let's look at the notes. So a stack of minor thirds, as it happens, that stack of minor thirds has 2 tritones in it, right? Well, one of the tritones happens to be C and F sharp, which is conveniently the tritone from D7. D7 resolves to G. Ha ha ha. Let's go back. That F sharp diminished is like a secondary dominant, right? And it resolves to a wonderful sort of combination sort of sound, C over G. A7, now I'm going to go right around the circle of fifths, right? D, a secondary dominant. G, a seventh to C. Who would have guessed that a simple song like Take Me Out to the Ball Game could give us 5 or 6 examples of secondary dominants, of major chords or dominant chords or a diminished chord that's not from the original key signature, that's functioning to push us to a new key level, just to create a kind of a momentary outpost. Take Me Out to the Ball Game, Take Me Out to the secondary dominant song, right? A lot of songs from this period exhibit this kind of behavior. And in fact, a lot of classic jazz standards do this all the time. It's part of the reason blowing over jazz standards can be challenging, because every time you have a secondary dominant, the scale that is appropriate, has to be adjusted a little bit. You've got to react to that raised third in the chord. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my next video. I'll see you next time.